First of all, here at the beginning, you'll see a pop-up. Now, I'll go over this pop-up later on in the video, but for now, we'll close it off. On the dashboard here, you would basically have a brief overview of everything in this point of sale system in one small collapse area where you could just get all the information for a specific task ready at hand. So as you can see down here, we have the last 7 days transactions, and that will be for the sales, the credit notes, the purchases, the debit notes, the journal voucher, the receipt voucher, and the payment voucher. We also see the money spent from the company. We also see the sales that the company generated, money from the receipts, either those that were debited or credited. Later on, I'll explain what I mean by that, and payments made. So to begin, I would first like to talk about the users section. This would be more focused for the owner of the company or those who have admin privileges. Now, what you could be able to do here is that you'll have different roles. Here in the drop-down menu, you'll see that you have the admin, the user, sales, purchase, and super admin. Now, as an example, I'll just use user here. And once you have access to this page, there are different categories, as you can see here on the left, which you'll be able to access. Now, you will also be able to create different users, and this is where the role permission comes in. If you don't want certain users to have certain access to different things, you could deny that role. So as an example, let's say human resources. We don't want any and every user being able to access that. So if I just untick that now and I press update and I go to the human resource side of things and I try to access it, they will say that I don't have privileges to do that, and it'll send me straight back to the dashboard. Now, obviously, if I wanted to change that, I'll go back to the roles permission, pick the user role, click on the human resources, update once more. And as you can see, I have access to all the different tabs in the human resource section. Another thing that I mentioned, you can create new users once you have the privileges to. You'll be able to make a name, add an email address to that user, create a password, add a phone number, and give them whichever role you deem fit that the person has. Now, for the user list, this is the credentials used to sign in, as you saw earlier at the beginning of the video. As of now, for this test, we just have 2 users, John Doe 1, John Doe 2. Currently, I am using John Doe 1. Now, with that out of the way, I would like to first begin explaining what is the point of sale system and what is its purpose. The point of sale system is really just used to facilitate the transaction process between a customer and a business at the point of any purchases that happen. Right. So for an example, if you just go to the grocery store, you buy two little snacks or something like that. You walk up to the cashier, they will usually scan the items that you purchase. It will go into their point of sale system. They will track that information, and from there, they could see, if my stock is going down, if it's going up, how much money, was generated from that, if I made a profit or loss, things like that. And the point of sale system really is just used to enhance the customer experience, streamline operations, provide the business with valuable data and insights, more so really to do with the customers and their suppliers. And it also helps them make informed decisions for their sales and inventory management. So first of all, I like to start off with sales from the top. So here we have sales invoice. So the sales invoices are usually documents created by the seller, no, not by the seller, by the buyer to the seller to request payment for a buyer for goods and services provided. They serve as formal records of a transaction and provide details of the products or services sold, the agreed upon prices, and the payment terms agreed to by both parties. The sales invoices are essential to the financial record keeping of a business. The buyer that uses the invoice, the buyer uses the invoice as a basis for making payments, and the seller retains a copy for their own records and accounting purposes. So just to give you an example, as you can see here, we'll be looking at Chris Tester for this demonstration tonight. And you see he has $3,000 in the first instance and then $210 in the second instance. These are approved, meaning that they went through the system from an employee of Medtrack and everything went along without any issues. Now, how did this end up here in the first place? Just to skip these, I'll be coming back to these, but just to focus on the sales invoice for now, right? We'll go to the customer section. Now, this is where Chris Tester originally comes from. So you'll add a new customer. This is the spot where you'll do that. You'll have their name, the code. The code is automatically assigned. So as you can see here, there's 11. That is because there are 10 other types of entries like this beforehand. You also have spots for the address, the phone number, the country, the city, the customer's email, any credit that may have been provided to them, and what is the limit for their credit. Now, if we go back once more and we go back to Chris Tester, here we can see the information is already in the system. And because of that, anytime Chris Tester makes a payment to the company, it goes up here in the sales invoice as a record to say, this happened. And if you go on view, you'll see all the information is kept here for the customer and the company, as well as the invoice information. Now, if we go on to credit notes, let me first explain that. Credit notes are documents issued by you, the seller, to a buyer to indicate that the seller owes a specific amount of money to you. These are technically used when there is a need to make adjustments or rectify an issue with an invoice that was previously issued. So these would more likely be used for returns of of damaged goods, like I said, price adjustments, or if there were billing errors and overpayments made during the original transaction. Right now, there isn't any of those there because those don't really happen. But we'll see later on what goes on with this. Now, for the third section, we have the point of sales. And this isn't up to date right now. It's not complete. This is how I got it. But to work with what I have here, you choose a customer, whichever customer you're currently dealing with. So for us, it'll be Chris Tester. Now, this category here, you'll see that there are 4 boxes. These are medicines, right? And on the left-hand side, there are the types of medicines that they fall into. So for our example, I'll be using ibuprofen, and that falls into the anti-inflammatory section. So if I click that, only that medicine will come up. And if you focus your attention here to this number in the top right-hand corner of the box, you'll see 93. Now, what this is when you make purchases from a supplier, obviously you'll have a certain amount of stock. So beforehand, I introduced ibuprofen at a stock of 200. The reason that it's at 93 is because if we go back to the sales invoice, we saw that Chris Tester made 2 purchases beforehand. If we look at the details, it says that for the first one, he made a purchase with a quantity of 100. And the second with a quantity of 7. So that comes up to a total of 107. Now, if you take 107 from the 200, which was the base stock that it started at, that is where you get the 93 from. So this updates at real time. Once stock is taken out based on a purchase, the number of the stock would update and it will show next to the product that you have at the point of sale. So if you click on it, you'll see the rate. It has the batch number. You get the batch number once you buy from the supplier. They will give you the batch number. And if any discounts would be given to the customer, this is where you'll add it. So let's go back to what we were doing. We'll add Chris Tester here. Let's say we want to buy a quantity of 6. We add that in there. The pricing is done automatically. If any VAT needed to be included, it will be added. You do your cash payment, and you will get notifications at the top right corner of the screen saying that the invoice was successfully created. Now, if you go back to the sales invoice, you would see that it was added at the top here with the purchase that we just made of $180. Now, this here is just the invoice. So we have to get this in the system, and to do that, we'll generate the payment. We'll make sure that all the information in here is correct. You'll select your bank, right? As for this test, I am using Bank of America as an example. And once you make sure that all the information here is correct, you just press save. And it goes into the system as the customer payment. That is where it appears down here in this customer payments tab. So if you could just give me a second. Right, so what the one that we just added appeared here in the customer payment tab to show that everything went through and it was successfully added into the system. Now, if we come out to the sales tab and we go down now to the purchase tab, the first thing we'll be greeted with is purchase bills. Now, purchase bills are documents received by a buyer from a seller as a record of a purchase transaction. This usually outlines the details of goods and services acquired from a supplier and provides information necessary for payment processing and accounting purposes. So this whole payment section is really just to do with you, the company, and your suppliers. In this section, you would not be dealing with customers. The customers would be relegated to the sales section. Just wanted to make that clear. So as you can see here, there are already 2 examples given. And just like in the sales section, you can expand to see what happened, to see the customer information, to see the company information and the invoice. Here, this is a product, another one of the medical products. And as I mentioned earlier, this is where you'll usually have your batch numbers, the quantities, the prices, all in one. Now, expenses. The expenses tab is used for purchases that the company, your company, makes. So this could be anywhere from electrical expenses, expenses related to traveling. You know, you'd go around driving a car, have gas, meal expenses, things like that. So any of those purchases would fall into this area. Now, the supplier payment refers to payments made by a business to its suppliers for goods or services received. These payments represent the settlement of outstanding invoices or bills owed to the suppliers from the products and services they have provided. So this is when you, the company, makes purchases from another company, which is usually your supplier. And any transaction that takes place here, this is where you would see that it's been approved. Like in the sales section, where I showed in the customer payment, after you do all your invoices and you made sure that you have all the correct information and you approve it, it will come in this section. Same for the purchases tab. It will come in this section once everything is fine. Now for the debit notes. The debit notes are documents issued by a buyer to a seller in a business transaction to indicate that the buyer owes a specific amount of money to the seller. Unlike credit notes that we saw earlier, the debit notes represent the buyer's indebtedness to the seller. So that is the difference. So Just to go over that, the credit notes usually reflect the seller's indebtedness to a buyer, but for the debit notes, it's when the buyer is in debt to the seller. Just wanted to clear that up. So any of those would fall into this category. Now, for the suppliers, just like in sales with the customers, this is where you'd add your suppliers. So just as an example, I'll show you one that we have set up here. You have the supplier name, their code, which is automatically given to them. You have their address, their tax number, their phone number, their country, city, emails, credit period, and credit limit if your company decides that they need either of those. Now we will go down into accounting. The first thing that we'll be greeted with in accounting is the journal voucher. So the purpose of the journal voucher is to ensure the accurate and systematic recording of financial transactions. What this really means is that any, and when I mean any, I mean any transactions that happen on the business, whether it be the business itself buying things from others or others buying things from the business, would be marked down in the journal voucher. And to add to that, when any of these transactions occur, the appropriate accounts must be debited and credited to make sure that they both balance off. They need to balance off because if they don't, that will mean that there is a discrepancy somewhere that needs to be addressed and verified by the company. So as we go down, we made the payment voucher. The payment voucher is used to record various types of payments, such as vendor invoices, employee salaries, utility bills, rent payments, and other ongoing cash disbursements. As we go down, we have the receipt voucher. Now, the receipt voucher is basically a receipt. Normally, when you go and you buy something from the grocery, from the shop, wherever it is, at the end of all the transactions, you'll be handed a receipt. Now, for the business will have to keep a record of, all the purchases that occurred and took place. The same way that you receive a receipt and you get to see how much money was spent, which item was bought, what was the quantity, the same way the business needs to keep a record of those transactions. As we go down, we have the chart of accounts. Now, the chart of accounts, to briefly explain it, this will be all the accounts that your company deals with. This will fall under customers and suppliers and banks. If we go on to the group section, this will be, the capital of the company, if you have any loans, current liabilities, your fixed assets, any investment that your company may have at the moment, your current assets, etc., etc. All of those will fall under here. And really and truly, this section has to do a lot with the bank side of things. And that is where the bank accounts come in. This is where you'll add any banks that you have relations with. So whether you're drawing up a check for a customer or for a supplier, these are the banks that you would have to send all of those transactions to. As you can see, you can add new banks whenever you want. The bank name, the account name, and the account number that is under. And the opening balance, you would have the option to have a debit or credit. The reason debit or credit is here is because sometimes you may owe the bank, or sometimes you would start an account without owing the bank. Normally how it works is credit, CR, let me go back. As you see here, there's DR and CR. DR stands for debit, CR stands for credit. You'll be credited if money is coming into your account, and you'll be debited if money is going out of your account. Now we'll go down to the human resources side. Now, the human resources section is solely for employees. So the managers or anyone that has the power to look over employees would be interested in this section. In this section, to start off, we have the employees tab. This is where you'd add your employees. As you can see, you can add new. In this section, you have the employee name, the code, which will be given to the employee, the designation, which would have a drop-down bar, and these would reflect what your company is doing. So as an example, the designation that we have here is stocker, in case that we're working in a grocery. So you could add something like a janitor, a stocker, a cashier, or any other forms of employees that you may have. Then next up, we have the salary package, which as an example, I've added basic pay and bonus. Later on, we'll see what those mean and how you can change it. You have their marital status, their date of birth, whether they are male or female, what qualifications they have, their address, their phone number for home, and their own personal phone number, their email address, the day that they joined working with you, and which type of salary you'll be paying them. All of this will be changed in this section. So let's go down to the designation area, which I mentioned here first as stocker. Now in this area, if we go to add new, we could add a designation name. As a quick example, as I mentioned earlier, let's say we have a janitor. You'd add the name, the amount of leave days. Usually the amount of leave days that I know people get are 14 for the whole year. An advance amount. This would be in case, let's say something happened to your employee and they come to you beforehand and say that they need money for the coming month earlier than they should. Here you can add an advanced amount that they can get. So now let's go to the stocker just to see what we just explained. And pay head. Now the pay head is really the different types of, I would like to say, salaries that you'll be giving out to people. You have your basic salary, you have your overtime pay that the people will be getting, you have your bonus, any deductions, any allowances given to your employees, or any reimbursement. If you go up, we can always add these in, add the name, add the type. The type is either addition or deduction. So if they'll be getting money, or if for this role, whatever it may be, it'll be a deduction. Obviously, you have the narration section where you could just give a little example, a brief example of what this pay head is for anyone that may use the software later on. Now, as I was speaking earlier on the salary package, the two examples that I had set up was the basic pay and the bonus pay. So I'll be using that now. So if you open the basic pay, you'll see you could set the package name, and then you can set what it does or what is given with this package. So just to reiterate, in the pay heads earlier here, you set up which packages you have to offer. And then in the salary package, this is where you would choose from those pay heads what you want your employees to be given. So let's just add back basic salary. As you see, I already have it down here. You could add it as 3,000 as I did. Once you have that here, you need to press the plus sign to make it go into the system. Otherwise, it wouldn't be counted and your employees wouldn't get any pay. So let me just delete that. And now for the bonus, this example is to show that you could add more than one pay head. So as a bonus, you have your basic salary and any bonus pay that you want to give your employees. You would add those two figures. Obviously, you'll add the type. So these are money that will be going to the employees. So it will be under an addition. And because of that, it will be added in this section before it goes out to any pay that the employee may be getting. Now, attendance, this section here, we will not be able to make a demonstration tonight, as this will needed to be used with the other hardware forms of the point of sale system. As of right now, we are just going through the software side of things. If you continue going down, we'll have the monthly salary setting. So if we add new, we'll see what's going on here. As an example, let's say July. July is next month, right? So we'll set up July as an example, July 2023. Let's say that pay will be the 1st of July. Now, you have the employees, right? As of right now, we only have John Doe, but all employees that you have in the system will come down in this area. You select which package you want John Doe to get. So let's say last month the company did very well and you have a bonus for employees. As I mentioned previously, you could have a bonus package set up beforehand. So once you feel the need to give your employees such a bonus, you click that, you press save, and for the month of July, John Doe will be paid via the bonus package, which is the default basic pay package plus the bonus, the 3,000 plus the 500. Right now, for the advanced payment section, as I mentioned earlier, your employees may come to you for whatever issue they may have going on, and they may want pay in advance. This is the section where you'll set that up. So if you go and add new, you have a voucher number for it. You have the date that it's going to be given at. You have the employee that is asking for this advance in pay. You have the amount that you're going to give them, whether that be the whole amount, half of the amount, whatever it may be. You choose which month that's going to be for. So like I said, we're in June right now. The employee needs it at the moment. So you'll take that out of July's pay. You'll choose the bank which you're going to get it from, which is Bank of America, which we use for this example. And in the narration spot, as I mentioned earlier, you'll just put a little note here explaining why this employee got a pay before everyone else for whatever reason. Click submit, and it's saved here in the system. Now, sometimes there may be an issue, an error on the human side of things. This is where the deduction comes in, the bonus deduction. So as I use the monthly salary setting earlier, and I showed you that you could use the basic or the bonus pay, you may make an error. So this is where you come down to the bonus deduction section and you add that in. So you choose the employee, the current date, the month which the discrepancy appeared in. So let's say that was in the month of June, the bonus amount. So let's say 500 was, my apologies. Let me go back to that. Let's say 500 was to be the bonus that they got that they weren't supposed to get. Then you just add the deduction here, you take it away, you explain why, and you submit. And it's saved in the system. Now, there are two types of vouchers. You may either pay your employees in a monthly salary or a daily salary. The choice is up to you. And this is where, once again, you add the voucher number, the date that it's issued, the month which is issued for, and which bank. And once you plug this information into the system, your employees would appear here, whether they need to be for the monthly or for the daily. Now, the next section deals with the goods and services of this company, medicine. So in this section, we have medicine. We have the medicine category, the brand, the units of measurement, the medicine type, and the box size. So let's just go over it from the top. Medicine is where you'd add, as the title says, medicine. So as an example, I went ahead and added in ibuprofen, as we saw earlier in the sales section. So if you go to edit it, this is what you would be presented with, where you need to plug in your information. So you'll plug in the name of the medicine. It will be given a code automatically, just like your employees and your suppliers. You'll type in the strength of the medicine that you have on hand, you will be able to select which category this medicine falls into, the unit that the medicine is measured in, what type is it, whether it be a tablet, a syrup, drops, or inhalers, and the box size. Whether there is just one tray of tablets inside or 10 trays in a box. Here you'll be able to also add in which brand the medicine is for. And we have a quantity alert section. This alert section is meant to be as an alert to tell you that your stock is low. So if the stock for ibuprofen hits 50, you'll get an alert in your dashboard that tells you that, hey, you need to stock up on this product. It's hit this threshold. And that alert would continuously pop up on the dashboard, as I'll show right now as an example in this little box here, because you can't click anything once this box is open. So you need to verify, what am I missing? What's expired? What's out of stock? It will appear in this section. You'll be able to close that off, and then you have access to your point of sale system as usual. Now, medicine category. This is where you add any new categories or delete any categories that were previously added. As an example, I went ahead and added in the anti-inflammatory category for the ibuprofen, as that's what that medicine is for. All you'll need to do is just add the category name. And if you want, you'll add an image to go along with that. That is all you need to do to add it in here. Same for the medicine brand. Whichever company the medicine is created by, you just add the brand, you have the brand name. If the brand has a logo, you'll select that file, you'll add it in here, and the logo will appear in the image section once added and saved. For the units of measurement, this will be, for your tablets, for any form of liquids that you might give a person, whichever form of measurement that medicine is using at the moment, you can add it or delete it here. As an example, for milligrams, you just add in the unit name, the number of decimal places, however the different medicines might go by, and that's it, and you just save, and they will appear here in this section. And for the medicine type, the same as all the other tabs, you just say the type, whatever it is, save, and that's it. It will appear in this section. And the box size, same thing goes. Any new box size that you get, you need to add it in, add new, top right corner, you enter any box size, whatever that may be, save, and it will appear with the rest of these information. Right, now the report section. This section is the core of the business. Here you will get everything, all the information that may have been plugged in via sales, purchases, accounting, human resource, medicine, or users. All of that information you'll be able to find right here in these sections. Now for this demonstration tonight, I can't use it because the site will break. So we'll have to get back to fixing that, sorting that out. So yeah. As of now, the only other thing that is worth mentioning is the subscription area. Now, if I try to click on that, I wouldn't have the privileges. This is mainly saved for the admins. Let me see. Yes, the admins, the higher admins, they would have access to the subscription function. Right now, this is a work in progress. So if I just go back onto the role permissions, and right now I am under user, I'll give myself that, update. Now I could go in the subscription section, which as I said is a work in progress. There's nothing really to be shown right now. Just giving you another demonstration of the role permission. Take that back off. And that's really all there is to this point of sale system for tonight. If there are any questions, now would be the time to ask. But other than that, this is all we have to offer at the moment.
Yeah. So Sammy and Ira, do you have anything to ask?
It is, sir. So I have one question for you, right?
Mhm.
Does this point of sale system work offline?
Okay, when you say offline, are you talking about
Without an internet connection?
no? This would not work without an internet connection because it needs to be actively connected to the database system, which will be in the back end of all this. And to make the point of sale system continuously update in real time for the information, whether it be that stocks go out because someone purchased amount or because you purchased stocks from a supplier, then it would not update on its own.
Okay,
So
and
no.
one more question, right?
Mhm.
What do you think we can improve in this point of sale system?
What I think should be included in this system. That's a good question. Give me 1 sec to just brush over that real quick.
What type section is it there?
Oh, is someone else asking a question?
Not me.
No.
Oh, okay. As of now, this point of sale system, I don't think anything else needs to be added. More so, it needs to be brushed up. As I said, certain sections are missing things or the functionality is broken at the moment. But other than that, right now, I would not be trying to add in any more than we have.
All right. That's all the questions I have. Thank you, sir.
Sure, no problem. Any other questions?
Ira, do you have any question to ask? Ira, you're on mute. We can't hear you, Ira. Still we cannot hear you. Again, you went on to mute. There is something wrong with her, maybe computer or whatever. Anyway, so now, Darrell, that was a great presentation to begin with, right? So now about, I have a couple of questions, right?
Sure.
There is no search button on the medicine edit. Medicine, can you go back to the medicine? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is no search button on that. Do you think there is any need for a search button over here?
A search, but there is a search button here.
Oh, I didn't see
That's
it.
what they're saying, right? Search button.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I might. Yeah. I don't think I brushed off on that. Okay. So for a lot of these sections, there are a search button at the top of the list, and this is the basic search button. So if I wanted to just single out ibuprofen, because you'll have a long list of medicines here in an actual business running, I could just type. Oh, give me 1 second. I have to make sure that's spelled correctly. Right.
Yeah.
So you don't need to type out the full name, but once it comes close to it, it will pull it up single-handedly. Obviously, if you just press I, everything with I will come up, as all of these has an I in it. But
Okay.
yeah, so once you type in the majority of the name, it will come out on its own.
All right, great, thank you. Now, coming to the attendance, right? You mentioned about the human resource and attendance, right over there.
Yeah.
So, what hardware things you need for somebody to have this attendance situation?
Could you say that again?
What hardware material you need for the attendance to be added to this list?
Oh, the
Attendance.
hardware. Okay, so as far as I've done the research, the hardware that you require for this will be a card swiper. The way that most companies have the attendance set up is that on the monitor that they buy, there is usually a card swiper attached to it, and each employee will be given, a certain card. There will be a barcode on the card, and when they swipe, obviously it scans and it goes into the system at the exact time that it's scanned, what day, and it's like a clocking in and out system, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. That should be good. Do we have that facility in this system? If can we give the user, let's say a company is buying it from you. Do
Mhm.
you have that access to give it as a card swiping system? Is it that software available over here, or what we need to do to add this card swiper?
Um, that I'm not sure about. Obviously, we'll need the monitor that's capable of doing that, and the cards, the specific cards that need to be made to do that. But to have it function and go on the system as soon as someone swipes, I would need to look more into that because I haven't delved into that field as yet.
Okay. All right, no problem. Because if somebody wants to use it, at least do you have a chance where we can say that their check-in time and check-out time? Can they have it
With
like that? Or when the
without
employee logs in,
Mhm.
we can attach it to the attendance list.
Oh, like that.
Instead of card swiper. And so if we can just say when he logs into the system today, that will show
Yeah.
up on his on the reports or wherever it should show up, in such a way that he log in at this time and log out at this time.
I would need to look into that. As of now, I don't know any form of code or anything that could actively change that.
Can you see that in the reports?
Reports should be accounting, purchases, inventory. Somewhere had no. Payroll. No, that's not any reports. That is just
That's not.
yeah, that's just stuck under the human resources under attendance.
Yeah. All right. So what we have to do is, once when somebody logs in, okay, login should be reported, right? So that that will show as the attendance list.
Right.
Instead of card swiping and all these things, show that to attendance list. We can reduce, because see, we have to cut costs. We have to cut costs for the user. They feel more happy about it.
Right. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
So that is all the business is about at the end of the day, right? So that is the next thing. Yeah.
Do you have access to the code that's running this?
Yes, I have code. This is where I'm going to train you all very soon. This is what? This is a .NET code, .NET with the Blazor technologies and SQL database. So we are going to train you on this thing very soon. Most likely, by next week, Wednesday, you guys will be rolling into this attendance list of .NET training. So once when you are on this board within a span of 2 months, I'm sure you should be in a position to handle this software.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So that will help. That will help everybody. Clear with that?
Yeah. Any other discrepancies you
Yeah.
want to?
Next. Yeah. Not over there. Ira, do you have any question to ask Daryl? You can open up your mic and ask if you want. We can't hear you. Ira, we can't hear you. Whenever you open up your mic, Sam, no, Sam covered it all. Okay, all right, no problem. Then I have one more question. Daryl, you said about the barcode, right? Like, now barcode can be like, can it be used for the sales and purchase, or how does that work for sales and purchases?
Okay, so for a point of sale system, how a barcode usually works is with a barcode scanner, the hardware aspect of it. So once you scan an item's barcode, it automatically updates in the system, as in it's added into the system. So let's say, like you go to a grocery store, you pick up 2 items and it's the same item. Once the barcode scanner picks up the first item, usually that item comes up on the screen and it has all the information attached to it beforehand. So the pricing, the quantity, and so on and so forth. And you normally have the option to just add more. So the way that you brought up to, the cashier could just, add another one instead of scanning another time. That's really the bare bones of the barcode scanner. It's just to pull up the information on the item that's already in the system. And from there, you could do anything with that information.
So you have that access, right? For this system, you have the barcode feature, right?
This system, I didn't see that feature anywhere in this.
Because somewhere I see barcode, because these days everything runs with a barcode.
Right, yeah.
So you should have that feature for barcode, right?
Right. So that will probably need to be added into the code later on, whenever we go ahead with doing this. Because as of right now, I haven't seen any settings or whatnot pointing to the fact that this has that function added in beforehand.
Okay. All right. So that feature is still not shown up over here. That's what you mean.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
How difficult it is to add a barcode thing to this software?
If it works the same way I'm thinking other forms of codes that run the same way work, it shouldn't be hard. It just should be one big block of code that should be open source, as in it should be readily available on the internet if I go and do a search.
Okay. Yeah, great. Well, this is all I have for today. So anybody else has any other question if you want to ask? Well, there is nothing. Daryl, this is a great presentation. I'm telling you, honestly speaking, you did it like so great within a span of 24 hours. So Sam and Ira, Daryl figured it out this whole project from yesterday to today and presented to us in a thorough way, in a very thorough way. I didn't expect this much from you. Actually, like, you gave me a little more additional information than I was supposed to give. You understand? So you figured it out such a great way. Daryl, you have a very brighter scope in this business and you have a brighter scope in the software as well. As my word goes, Mummy is there by any chance?
Sure. Give me 1 second. She's right outside. Let me call her.
Yeah.